Welcome to this Dr. U video regarding ADHD. And Dr. Noah has some videos that we've put together on ADHD and the problems with Ritalin and how ADHD is diagnosed and so forth. But we want this to kind of be the introduction of what Dr. U has to say about ADHD, because we understand that right now, if you've just begun to deal with this, you might feel frightened, you might feel ashamed. If you're a parent, you feel that something you have done has caused this issue with your child. We'd like to just comfort you and say, be at peace. You don't have to put your child on Ritalin. You don't have to take dramatic steps. Don't let medical professionals make you feel like a bad parent. They're great at that. I don't think they do it intentionally, but that does seem to be something that happens. And please remember, as you consider the options, and you do have options of how you relate to your child in this process, that ADHD is not a disease. It's a disorder. So people want to throw a bunch of drugs at your child. Your child does not have a disease. Your child has a difficulty, a disorder. That's what it's technically called. Don't panic. And John has some great insight that we hope will help you to prepare to face this with courage and with love. So John.
Hi, John here again with Dr. U. Yeah, I would have been one of those kids. I was the #1 ringleader of problems at school, and boy, those nurses would have loved to have put me on Ritalin or whatever else they could have to suppress my the way I was at school. I had situations at home, real situations, and in those days, because I was such a problem, they called psychologists, and in those days they would actually have you talk to a psychologist, and I got experiments, and anyhow, it turned me completely around. No drugs. No drugs. I don't know what that would have done. I hated drugs for a lot of reasons. My mom was a nurse, and every time I sneezed, she gave me a shot. So I learned to sneeze in my pillow. I learned to not show symptoms. I was really anti-drugs. If they had forced me to take drugs, I think it would have been a lot worse for me, because I just had a general malaise for drugs. And a lot of the people, I've been running into people that have been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and I could be wrong here, but I think I heard about when they started all this, that the actual diagnosis was from the drug companies. They actually came up with the terms ADD and ADHD, and they were kind of diagnosing, giving a problem circumference for them to throw drugs at. And really what it is in the educational system, and this is my opinion, the educational system wants everybody to have this bell curve, and they want the kids all to be the same. Well, guess what? That excludes genius. That excludes creative children. I happen to be very creative. I was gazing out the window and staring off into space, and the teachers would, say, "Stop staring out the window." Well, that was part of my own creativity. And so what the system is doing, in a way, is kind of crunching your kids down to fit the bell curve. So if your child has a very active mind, and maybe the educational system can't give him enough information or is moving too slow, he might become agitated. Now that is a real way of looking at some of this, and we've taken away a psychologist and somebody to talk to the child and really maybe help them. And an interesting story is that Winston Churchill, I think he didn't really speak. Didn't speak. 2 years old, 3 years old. And then I think it was right around 4 years old, he started to speak. But he spoke in complete sentences. He had complete ideas. And they asked him, they said, why didn't you speak to us? He says, I really didn't have much to say. And he said, until I could kind of put my ideas together. And so here he is at 4 years old, and, you know, Winston Churchill ends up being one of the most notable people in our history. If he had been around in this time, they would have had him on Ritalin and medications, and he may never have done the things that he did. And so I'm actually one of those people that say, for God's sakes, don't give drugs to kids. Any program of trying to get the child to somebody that can actually talk to them and help them. And we're going to try to talk you through the rational idea of foods and some herbal ways of dealing with this, but never go to the place to where you just think your kid is not helpable, is not being able to, you can't help them. That's not true, because I'm living proof. I was the #1 problem kid in the school, and I completely overcame that, and it really was basically compassion. And it was compassion from my teachers and a compassion from the people around me.
Well, thanks, John. And all of that is great information, and hopefully it's helpful to you. And as a parent, you are searching, you have found this video, so evidently you do care for your child, maybe a little more than ordinary. Congratulations on that, and we do want to do everything we can to support you. As you will see in the videos with Dr. Noah, he is very passionate about the abuse, and I'll call it that children suffer at the hands of the pharmaceutical companies when they become subjected to taking drugs like Ritalin, Focalin, some of these other drugs that are extremely addictive and true gateway drugs into a lifetime of drug addiction and drug dependence. So as you watch Dr. Noah's videos and as you read through the ebook on ADHD, our great hope is that you will find answers that you are looking for on behalf of your child. Thank you.